Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Mizamani G, trying to review the latest survival horror movie. This is coming from the French Belgian film. This one is simply called Survive. Yes.
Y'all ready for this?
Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Mizamani G. Now, Survive is a 2025 French Belgian survival horror film. It was directed by Frédéric Jardin, was written by Andre Coquille and Matthew Bouillon. Now, the film stars Emily Duquesne, Andreas Pachman, I think I'm pronouncing these names right, Lisa Delamar, and Lucas Bell. Now, in this film, a couple celebrates their birthday in the middle of the ocean on their family boat. After a violent storm hits, it brings up hungry creatures from the depths, and the family must now fight for their survival. Here we go. Now, horror fans, one of the more interesting subgenres of horror films that I truly like are survival horror films. Now, I know what you're saying. What are survival horror films, Money G? Well, basically, you take a person, family, or a group of friends and put them in dangerous situations where they must fight in order to stay alive. Not like slasher films, but it's something similar to that. I mean, you can have them trapped on a flooded crawl space that's filled with hungry crocodiles. You can have a surfer stranded on the rocks in the middle of the ocean while being hunted by a great white shark. I'm pretty sure you know what those two films are. Now, survivor horror films has actually had some success. Mainly the films such as Crawl, The Descent, The Shallows, and The Mist are some of the more successful survival horror films. There are others, but those are the main four I wanted to concentrate on. Now, which brings us to the French director Frédéric Duquesne's latest project and entry into the subgenre horror. This one is simply called Survive. Now, in this film, we're introduced to Tom, his lovely wife Julia, and their children Cassie and Ben, who are vacationing on their yacht to celebrate Ben's 13th birthday. Yay, Ben! He's now a teenager. Unfortunately, a weird storm takes place, and after buckling down and surviving the storm, they find out that the whole entire ocean is gone. They're up on the rocks. The boat's fine, but there's no ocean. Where did it go? What happened? So, can Tom protect his family long enough in order for them to survive the dangers they must now face in an oceanless world? That's kind of what this film is about. When watching this film, there's no difference to this story that Frederick and his writing team of Andre Coquille and Martin Bonion have wrote here. I mean, it's basically the same premise that we've seen in the films where a family must now fight to survive in a new dangerous world. I mean, it's no difference than what we saw in A Quiet Place or A Quiet Place 2 or some of the other survival horror films such as The Descent or In the Mist. It's basically the same premise, only this time it's kind of a different twist. Because I actually do like the gimmick that Andre and Matthew use in this film when it comes to what happened in the ocean and some of the dangers that take place after that happens. Now, I won't reveal what it is. It's kind of simple. If you know anything about geography and the North and South poles, I'll just basically say that what happens, but that's kind of what takes place in this film. Now, you got to give Frederick credit because the film is well paced, looks very well, and he does a good job of letting the audience get to know the family well enough so that the audience starts to care what happens to them. So he does a very good job in this film. I mean, what makes this film work is the acting of all the actors, from Emily Duquesne, who plays Julia. You have Andre Penchman, who plays Tom. You have Lisa Delamar and Lucas Bell that plays the children, Cassie and Ben. They all are very good at this film. I mean, they all have great chemistry together, and we believe that they're a lovely family, especially after a tragedy that takes place. I would say by the end of the first act of the film, it's very surprising that what happens. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about, and they do a good job of coming together and knowing that they have to survive after what happens. I mean, later on, we get some nice bonding moments, whether it's between Julia and Ben or Julia and Cassie. You can see that she's trying her best to make sure her children survive, and you really got to give Emily credit for the acting that she does. And they have to try their best to survive it because they have a destination they have to get to before the oceans return. Now, I'm not spoiling anything because if you've seen the trailer, you're seeing that there's some added suspense when we see the crabs attack the family during the third act of the film. I wish we would have seen more of them, but they do add some nice tensions and suspense to the film. No, I guess because this is not a high budget film because of the limited budget. I guess they couldn't afford to use them more. But what we get to see, I mean, they do look frightening enough to make them a threat to the family. Because when you see what they do, I would say towards the end of the second act of the film, these crabs don't take they take no prisoners whatsoever. Speaking of effects, Frederick and his team do a good job in making the audience believe that the family is stranded in the middle of nowhere, despite the limited budget they use on this film. I believe this is filmed somewhere in France or in Belgium. I really don't know. I was trying to take a look, see where it was filmed at. There is a lot of back and forth when the family is speaking French throughout the film. We get some subtitles in here, but they do speak American because it's supposed to be taking place, I'm assuming, in America. We don't get anything because they're based in America. We get to see that Tom was an oceanographer and Julia's a doctor, but we don't know where this film is taking place. I mean, overall, I thought this was a decent survival horror film with some nice acting from all the leads. Like I said, all the actors did a good job. Some good practical and CGI effects, and a kind of unique setup as well. Something a little bit different. I mean, while it doesn't bring anything new to the table, it is a nice addition to this subgenre horror. I really did enjoy this film. So I'm going to give Survive 3 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. Like I said before, it's not going to knock yourself off. This is not The Mist. This is not The Descent. But I think it's a very nice, decent survival horror film. If you haven't seen it, I believe it's playing on Shudder. So go watch Survive. So there you have it, my horror fans. That is my video and review of Survive. Hope you did enjoy it. When you did, please give it a thumbs up. Like I sure it really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Have you seen Survive? What do you thought about it? Please leave your comments in the comment section below and tell you what you thought about Survive. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. That way we notified when I put no videos such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Money G, and always remember that horror rules. And I see you in my next video. Guys, stay safe out there.